wouldn't think that people would make these types of decisions. It's really boneheaded, but we're going to talk today about some crazy lending stories.
Hey guys, welcome to The Buzz, Coffee and Real Estate. Today we've got Don on here with us, and we're going to be sharing some stories, just lender stories, things that people have done over the years. We've had to fix problems, or that we've really had to call Don and get him to fix the problem.
Right. Yeah, and actually some of these are not just buyer, but some of them might be even realtor mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the mortgage loan is just at the edge of a train wreck. Even the perfectly, smooth transaction can blow up. And I'll tell you, one of the craziest stories that I've seen happen in my career. I was brokering a loan to a local bank about 15 years ago. Everything was going smooth. We were clear to close. And what happened was the closing attorney added the real estate agent on the closing email chain, which usually just the lenders and the closing attorneys are on. So we understand that this is something that we're working on. Okay, we try to keep that a closed environment between the lender and the closing attorney until it's done.
Yeah.
So the real estate agent was added to it, and they responded to one of the emails and sent the home inspection invoice and the entire inspection.
Oh my. So
now,
pause real quick. The home inspection is for the buyer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Right.
that's just for the buyer to see the condition of the home. The lender not only doesn't need to see it, but doesn't even want to see it.
Well,
And
it's
so-
every single problem that's wrong with the house.
Because you can have a brand new construction that's 80 pages long.
Yeah, that's right.
Like it's just all the nitpicky junk. So when you guys have an appraiser come out, that's completely different. Okay, but you're saying the home inspection report got
home
sent to you.
inspection. So
Okay.
So this is what happened in this particular transaction. So the closer at the lender,
Okay.
which I was the loan officer brokering the deal to
Okay.
a local bank.
Okay.
So the closer at the bank took the home inspection and sent it to the underwriter.
Ew.
Well, of course, the underwriter's like, okay, well, the giant starling nest in the attic with all of the poop must be cleaned up before closing.
Oh no.
This creates this chain of emails between the two agents where they're both freaking out going, that's lender,
Right.
while I picked up the phone and I call one of my friends with the Environmental Protection Agency and say, what do we do about this? She recommended a wildlife biologist. I sent him out there. They got it cleaned up. They got it certified with a letter that it was
Done.
safe. And guess what? We closed 2 hours late.
After getting the EPA involved. Oh my word.
Wow.
Oh gosh.
But I got to watch the arguments going back and forth for a little while before I put it in motion.
Yeah.
But I had another situation very similar, same thing. Closing we were done. We were getting ready to close. The closing attorney added the real estate agent, and the exact same thing happened. The agent sent in the home inspection invoice and report. Remember, we just need the invoice.
Yeah.
Sent in the invoice and report, and the lender required 21 repairs prior to closing and certification that it was all completed.
Oh my God.
We did not close 2 hours late.
I can imagine on that one.
I bet. Did you end up closing though?
We did close, but it took a lot longer. So never, ever, ever send the home inspection to the lender.
That's
Yes.
right, especially to the closing part of
Yes.
it. Maybe
Wow.
if you send it to Don, he'd be like, I didn't see it. I'm deleting that email.
Wow. And it's not trying to deceive anybody.
Yeah.
It's just there are
Right.
certain details that a lender, a bank, a loan
Once you
needs.
see it, you can't unsee it.
That's right.
Right. And so it's like, hey, here's what we need. We need A, B, C, and D. Don't send us X, Y, and Z. We don't need that. Somebody else needs that. And so it's just the way that you guys end up doing business. And of course, an underwriting department, they're the ones who cross the T's and dot the I's. And just trying to keep as much of what they need in front of them and not the extra stuff.
Especially once you're clear to close, you don't want.
You don't need any hiccups.
Don't buy a car.
That's
Yes.
right. Actually, I got a funny story on this one.
Yeah.
So I had a client one time who came in. We were like 2 weeks from closing, right? And I get a call from the lender. The lender's like, hey, their debt to income's high. And I'm like, they weren't high 2 weeks ago. Why are they high now? And he says, they bought a car. And I said, well, how much was the car? Oh, it was $750. And I'm like, so how much?
$750 payment.
Yeah, payment. I said, how much was this jump?
Yeah.
And he says, well, we were at 43%, which is pretty much that top tier. I mean, sometimes you go over that with FHA and stuff, but your conventionals are kind of around there. And he said, now we're at like 54%, and we're not in a good position. So what we ended up having to do was, one, the lady took the car back to the dealership and turned it in because they're, you know, it's like the 7-day return or whatever with the dealer. So she takes the car back and returns it. We go through closing. We finally close on the house. Then she goes back to the dealer, buys a car after we're done. And I was like, you didn't learn your lesson the first time here on this?
Wow.
And so ended up being a big hiccup there because, I mean, of course, we had to repull credit. And then we had to show proof that the car had been returned. It was a big mess. But I think we closed like a week later than normal.
Well, mortgage lenders right now, you know, are doing what a debt monitoring service, undisclosed debt monitoring service. So when you go through the loan process, and this is a big issue with, you know, end of month closings. So if your goal is to close at the very end of the month, that's kind of scary for us because we know that that undisclosed debt monitoring service is going to pick up because what usually happens at the end of the month? Your creditors report new data to the credit agencies, right?
Whether you made all your payments or added any new payments.
Or if you just bought a new car.
Yeah.
When's it going to show up? The last day of the month.
That's right.
And sure enough, we had one a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago where the last day of the month, undisclosed debt monitoring service updated. We got a notification, brand new car. I called the customer and said, hey, you have to sell the car. You have to. And that was on a Friday. She went Saturday and sold it back to the dealership. And actually, because of the price of cars right now, she was able to pay off the debt completely and get a check that she was able to use for closing.
Oh, my gosh.
Made a little profit. So that never happens.
Yeah. When do you ever get an investment out of a car?
Yes.
But yeah, of course, you know, the lender still has to verify with the creditor through what is called a credit supplement, which takes a three-way call with the borrower and the car lender that the debt is now paid in full. And, you know, so we were able to close, but not on time.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That lender.
Right. It's all your fault.
Exactly.
It's all
We're probably all guilty of that. It's like, oh, well, let me talk with the lender about that. That's
Yeah.
probably my fault. But.
Yeah. Wow. So have you seen anything else in the market that just kind of was crazy? I mean, you said you've 19 years history. Any other stories that you wanted to share just as a FYI to folks of like, hey,
Don't do this.
be sure and avoid this. Don't do this.
Well, you know, the car thing is so funny and it happens so often. It's one of the big ones.
Yeah.
I once pre-approved a customer to buy a house, and then when they found a house and went to put in an offer, I pulled the credit report. They bought 2 Escalades.
Oh, God.
Not just one, 2 of them.
$150,000 worth of loans.
Right.
oh, my word.
I mean, they now no longer qualified for a loan, of course.
Yeah,
So,
but they bought their house. it had 8 wheels and a
They
lot
now
of shiny
live in
paint.
their car.
Yes.
I recommended that they live in one because they weren't going to be able to buy a house for a long time. But I mean, goodness gracious, those are expensive vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
And these days, you know, all vehicles are expensive.
Yeah,
you know,
so
so I see more $700 and $800 car payments now than ever before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll kill a mortgage pre-approval.
Oh,
It
totally.
will destroy it.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that, you know, that comes back to what we were talking about earlier, where you have situations where, you know, people want to put down a bunch of money to buy a house, 20%, because they're concerned about 0.15% in mortgage insurance. Like, are you out of your mind? Pay off a car.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
let's get rid of that $700 payment. Don't worry about the, you know, $60 a month, you know, mortgage insurance.
That's
Right.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. And one other thing, just as because we're processing through this right now, is just making sure that when you submit a credit application, because that's the first step with you guys, is we're connecting a buyer with your team. They're filling out a credit application. Just double and triple checking to make sure that the credit application is filled out correctly.
That's
The
right.
correct income.
Correct social.
Correct social, yes. Making sure that the income is verifiable. You know, well, I make this much money, but this amount is in cash because of the industry that I'm in or whatever. And so, yeah, just
date of birth must be correct, and 2 years of residential history. That's really important. Sometimes people just put where they live for the last 6 months, but you can't pull an accurate credit report unless you have 2 years of residence history.
Oh, really?
On the credit report.
Okay,
That's right.
I didn't even know that, so that's good to know.
So does that affect somebody? Let's say that they live with their parents and then they move out. Maybe they get an apartment for 6 months. Is that going to hurt them as far as okay?
They just have to,
Show both of those.
Fill out the application completely. When you're doing a mortgage application, it is not the time to multitask.
Yeah.
It's not the time to be on Facebook and to be watching TV. It's time to absolutely focus on the mortgage application until it's submitted. Then at that point, upload the documents. And my site's really easy to navigate, Don.Owens.com. You can go there, download my app.
We'll put that in the description too.
But it's a really easy to navigate system, and you can upload documents on your computer and access it both through the app as well as on a computer system. But the more time and the more focus that a customer has on making sure that loan application is accurate as possible when they submit it, the more likely that a pre-approval that we issue is going to result in a closed transaction.
Instead of, we pre-approved you, but you accidentally had the wrong social or the wrong date of birth, and we thought your name was such and such, and you were actually,
Yeah, we see all sorts of things, wrong last names, you name it. And of course, we try to go over everything with the customer, but it's not possible to stop and go over every single word on the loan application with the customer. There is definitely the responsibility for the person submitting the application to make sure it's as accurate as possible.
Yeah. Well, and it just makes everyone's job easier, and it raises the probability that they're going to have a successful transaction that runs smoothly and closes on time and all those things.
I like to say you cannot make up time lost at the beginning of a transaction at the end of a transaction. So the very beginning, filling out the application correctly, uploading your documents as completely as you possibly can, that sets you up for success so that once you're under contract, things can go very quickly.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I think that just about wraps it up here. And just wanted to let you guys know that we'll continue to have Don on the show and and continue to share helpful information about the market and as we move along. So thanks for joining us on The Buzz, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, guys. And if you can, subscribe to our channel. Go ahead and share this with somebody who needs this information or just wants to laugh a little bit because we've all enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
All right.